Tenno Sho Emperor's Cup Spring, Japan's greatest two-milers to battle in historic Kyoto. Tenno Sho.
Deep Impacto! G'day World Wide Web, Lew Dub with the world's most detailed Tenno Sho Spring Preview. That's right, Japan's premier 2-mile race returns home after 2 years at Hanshin. We're back at Kyoto Racecourse after a couple of years of refurbishments. We've got a new grandstand, a new parade ring, and some new turf has been laid as well. Reigning champ Titleholder is back as well, along with rising star Justin Palace. And there's a handful of others that will be there to make sure the aforementioned are punished if they don't live up to their reputations. Here's a look at what's in store in the preview. Runner by runner, we're going to look through the Tenno Sho Spring. And we've got some replays, though they're only going to be shown on BitChute and Rumble. So check the video description. You can click on the link to the BitChute or Rumble preview right down there. There's a bit of an Aussie flavour to this Tenno Sho Spring too. We've got Aussie jockey Damian Lane on board, the grey Silver Sonic, who raced in the Tenno Sho Spring last year. There was a bizarre occurrence after the race last year. Some of us thought he wouldn't make it through. Yeah, so there's some special content on that horse as well. All right, let's get stuck into the world's most detailed Tenno Sho Spring Preview.
I am Spring Ball. I am the man with John. I am the bat.
Kyoto Racecourse is home to the Emperor's Cup Spring. The outer course has a circumference of 1,894 metres and the home stretch measures at 404 metres. Something to keep in mind is the steep incline the field will have to contend with along the back straight. The runners will be faced with that gradient as soon as they race out of the barriers before storming downhill between turns 3 and 4 into the home straight.
Here is a quick squiz at the new grandstand built at Kyoto Racecourse. A brand spanking new parade ring, which can be seen by all racegoers due to its amphitheatre type design, and that new turf. That was laid carefully, mown by an army of willing Japanese horticulturalists. They gave the track its christening last Saturday and Sunday, and it will be the same this weekend with a small, lower profile meeting on Saturday before Sunday's big show.
Thanks for subscribing, but just being a subscriber means you don't always get notified. So please click the little bell so you can get notified of every video we publish.
Here are some of the previous winners of the Tenno Sho Spring with their respective lead-up races. You can see that the Hanshin Daisho 10 dominates with place getters for 6 of the last 8 years. The Osaka High, it's a 2,000 metre race, and it's over the last 3 years also that the Nikkei Show has emerged as an important lead-up race, providing winners and place getters. Justin Palace has drawn the fence. The 4-year-old was ultra impressive in his Hanshin Daisho 10 victory, clearing away after some obstruction around 300 metres from home. He was solid in his Japanese St. Leger 3rd, 3 starts back, and finished a respectable 7th in the Arima Kinen. The big change for Justin Palace is his weight. He was 452 kilos when he contested the Japanese St. Leger. When he started the Hanshin Daisho 10 about a month ago, he weighed in at 472 kilograms. That's a bit of growth. Number 2, Deep Monster, is a 5-year-old Entire that is yet to win a race at black type level. He did have 3 attempts at Group 1 in his 3-year-old season and didn't finish in the first 3 once. Since running 5th in the 3,000 metre Japanese St. Leger in 2021, he's raced over 2,000 metres 4 times and 2,600 metres once. He's been relatively close each start, including one win, but the Tenno Sho Spring is a big step up in grade. Titleholder. Not much needs to be said about the 5-year-old Entire. He's the defending champ who then took out the Group 1 Takarazuka Kinen over 2,200 metres before doing that cliche Japanese thing and heading over to France and failing in the slosh at Longchamp, contesting the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. When he returned home, he failed in the Group 1 2,500 metre Arima Kinen. It looked as though he may have lost that competitive instinct, but in his first run in 2023, he slaughtered his opposition in the Nikkei Show. Yes, it was a heavy track, and it's for that reason that Titleholder isn't in the red. He's been drawn a handy barrier 3 and shouldn't have to work too hard to take up his regular front-runner role. Melody Lane is the only mare in the race, and at 7 years of age, she's certainly been around the block a few times. She's had 3 cracks at the Tenno Sho Spring, and the best she's managed is 9th. In total, she's had 7 outings at Group 1 level, and her highest achievement was a 5th in the age-restricted Japanese St. Leger back in 2019. She has got a win on a soft track though, but seriously, she can't win. Iron Barrows. The 6-year-old Entire comes into this race with a similar prep to last year when he finished 5th. The major issue is Iron Barrows does not look to have improved since last year. In fact, his performances are below what they were leading into the 2022 Tenno Sho Spring. In the 3,600 metre Stayers Stakes leading into the 2022 Tenno Sho Spring, Iron Barrows was 2nd. This time around, he was 4th. In the Hanshin Daisho 10 leading into the 2022 Tenno Sho Spring, Iron Barrows was 2nd and less than a length away from the winner. This year, he finished 7th in the Hanshin Daisho 10, more than 6 lengths back. He can't be expected to win. Number 6, Ask Victor Moore, is part of that exciting crop of 4-year-old stayers that are on the rise. This fella proved his class with a Group 1 win in the Japanese St. Leger over 3,000 metres in October last year. He then arrived at the Nikkei Show as favourite, but finished a disappointing 9th in heavy conditions. In the same race, Titleholder announced he was back with a massive win. Anyway, up until the Nikkei Show bog, there was no reason to doubt this guy. That Group 1 race that he won, the Japanese St. Leger, has been a huge indicator of success in the Tenno Sho Spring. In the last 8 years, there have been 6 different winners of the Tenno Sho Spring. 5 of those 6 horses won the Japanese St. Leger in their 3-year-old season, while the other horse, Rainbow Line, had run 2nd in the Japanese St. Leger before winning the Tenno Sho Spring. So if you can put his last start down to the boggy track, he really is the value bet. Deep Bond, the 6-year-old Entire, has been runner-up 2 times in the Tenno Sho Spring. On both those occasions, 2021 and 2022, he came into the race with a victory in the Hanshin Daisho 10. This year, he ran 5th in the Hanshin Daisho 10 and was about 3 lengths behind the winner, Justin Palace. 2 starts back, he was 8th in the Arima Kinen, a race that he was 2nd in at his previous attempt in 2021. I think his career is in decline, sadly. Deep Bond. Tosen Kambina is a 7-year-old that has had 2 previous attempts at the Tenno Sho Spring. His results were 5th in 2020 and 10th in last year's edition. The year that he ran 5th, which was at Kyoto Racecourse, I might add, he had finished 2nd in the Hanshin Daisho 10 as his lead-up race. This year he ran in the Group 3 Diamond Stakes, a lower-ranked lead-up race, and he finished 8th. So not much chance of Tosen Kambina winning. Humidor is one of the older runners at 7 years of age and a rare gelding. Not to be confused with the Humidor that raced against Winx a few times in Australia. This fella has tried his hand at Group 3 and Group 2 a total of 13 times, and the best he's managed is 2nd placed at Group 3 level. He has done that 3 times. On the bright side, he was 2nd in his last start, the Group 3 Diamond Stakes over 3,400 metres. Last year's Diamond Stakes winner, T.O. Opera, managed 3rd in the Tenno Sho Spring, though he did win the Diamond Stakes by 2 3/4 lengths. There is no evidence that Humidor is a wet track ace, as well, so very hard to envisage this guy winning. Sanrei Pocket, the 8-year-old, had his career highlight in 2021 when he managed a 4th in the Group 1 Tenno Sho Autumn and a 4th in the Group 1 Japan Cup over 1.5 miles. Since then he hasn't raced at Group 1 level, and the best he's managed was a 3rd in the Group 2 Kyoto Kinen last year and a 3rd in the Group 3 Naruo Kinen in June of 2022. I must say though, his last 2 starts aren't as bad as they look. His 6th in the Hanshin Daisho 10 was only about 3.5 lengths from the winner, and he did cop some interference over the last 100 metres. 2 starts back when he finished 10th, the track looked much worse than the good rating it's been marked as. He can't win, but a rough chance of 3rd or 4th. Diastima, number 11, the 6-year-old Entire, was impressive leading up to his 2021 attempt at the Tenno Sho Spring, but he could only manage 6th. In his last 3 starts, all at Group 2 level, he hasn't been disgraced, but hasn't set the world on fire. His recent 3rd in the Nikkei Show was a refreshing result after a disappointing 9th when favourite in the Stayers Stakes last December. The big concern though is that in the Nikkei Show he was on a heavy track, and perhaps that's what brought him into contention. He's another leader or on-pace runner, so he'll be at the right end of the field for most of the trip. You can see him in action in one of our feature race replays. Breakup. The 5-year-old was really impressive at his last start, finishing 2.5 lengths from Justin Palace in the Hanshin Daisho 10. It's surprising he's such long odds, as he was finishing very strongly in that last race. He was carrying 1 kilogram more. Maybe some doubts are lingering in people's minds since his failure in the Arima Kinen. It was pretty much pulled up before the turn for home. The run prior to that was his win in the Group 2 Copa Republica Argentina over 2,500 metres. That was his breakout moment, and I rate Breakup as the best of the roughies outside the top 5 in betting, and he's a realistic chance of a place. Boldog Hos is another of the exciting 4-year-old crop of stayers. He was a shock 2nd in the Group 1 Arima Kinen in December, and prior to that was a flashing 2nd in the Japanese St. Leger, where he finished a nose from Ask Victor Moore. You can catch that race replay on this channel. Anyway, Boldog Hos ran out as favourite in his last start. That was the Hanshin Daisho 10, but he finished a good 2 lengths from the improved Justin Palace. At the time of recording, he is 3rd favourite, and there have been some rave reviews of his track work. Barrier 13 is probably not that much of a hindrance, as his habit is to race back in the field, usually somewhere worse than midfield. Matenro Leo, the 4-year-old, comes into the race off a 4th in the Group 1 Osaka High over 2,000 metres. He finished about 2.5 lengths behind the winner, Jack Daw. As a comparison, the last horse to use the Osaka High as lead up into the Tenno Sho Spring and win was Kitasun Black. He did it twice, and the first time he did it, back in 2016, he was half a length 2nd in the Osaka High. In 2017, he was a 1-length winner of the Osaka High. Matenro Leo does look to be a horse on the up, though the 2 miles is a big question mark, and the furthest he's raced is 1.5 miles, and that was when he was 13th in the Japanese Derby last year. End roll. Well, he brings winning form into the race, winning a conditional race over 2,500 for horses with a maximum of 2 wins. The 4-year-old is yet to race at group or even listed level, so it's hard to see him winning. And no, he doesn't have any standout wet track form. Silver Sonic, the grey with Aussie jockey Damian Lane on board. The 7-year-old horse ran the entire Tenno Sho Spring last year without a jockey, but owing to his love of racing, he finished closer to Titleholder than anyone else. Of all the top 5 contenders, he's drawn the worst barrier out in number 16. It will be a challenge for him to get into his usual on-pace position, but he's got plenty of courage, as you'll see in our special content.
And now Kazuro Yokoyama is going to go on and win the Tenno Sho Spring. Titleholder wins. Deep Bond, Tio Royal, 1, 2, 3. Then Heat on Beat, followed by Iron Burrows. Then came Minor Funrong, Melody Lane, out wide Boldog Hos. Robinson Key ran on well. In behind them came Toset Gambino and it was all over. Followed by Ayako. Then came Marco Dawn.
Well, that was a brain snap and a half. He doesn't take defeat too well, old Silver. When I saw that happen live, I have to admit I thought it would be more than just Silver Sonic's race career coming to an end. But the Gutsy Grey did make a full recovery. Anyway, I've spoke to Silver Sonic and he says he wants revenge. He reckons he would have won if Titleholder didn't cut him off in the home straight. He obviously wasn't aware that he had to have a jockey on his back if he wanted to win officially. But he's done nothing but win since last year's Tenno Sho Spring, taking out the Group 2 Stayers Stakes in Japan and then the Group 3 Red Sea Turf Handicap over similar distances. So the Tenno Sho Spring is more than just Titleholder defending his crown against rising star Justin Palace. There's also a bit of payback on the menu. African Gold. This 8-year-old's career highlight would have been his 2022 win in the Kyoto Kanen, a Group 2 over 2200 metres. Since then, he hasn't finished closer than 4th. This year, he ran in the Kyoto Kanen again and could only manage 9th. If you're looking for a positive, it was actually his last run. He was in the Hanshin Daisho 10 and led for most of the trip before holding on for a game 4th. You'll see that in our feature race replay later on. Not the worst of the roughies. Well, okay, summing up, it's a difficult race to dive into with great confidence because if you're backing Titleholder, you're not getting much value. Remember, that last start romp may have been due to the weather. Justin Palace, his win was the most convincing. He beat a lot of his main rivals, but has to carry a little bit more. Then there's Ask Victor Moore. He may have run poorly because of that heavy track in his last outing. And the difficulty with Silver Sonic is his most recent win was overseas and they're difficult to line up with Japan's best runners. Boldog Hos may have been below par in his last start due to the fact he raced a bit closer to the pace than usual. He was 3 wide for a bit of the race as well. You can't be too confident with him. He's carrying 2 kilograms more. The cheap way out is what I'll take. I'll just put a small place bet on Breakup and enjoy the spectacle as the field storm downhill into the home straight, 6 and 7 wide, chasing that front runner Titleholder. Check the odds and enjoy the Tenno Sho Spring.